Welcome back to Reddit Chronicles. If you're new here, do consider subscribing to help me feed my channel and grow my cat. And if you liked the video, do kindly give it a thumbs up to help me out. Let's get started. A bit of backstory. I'm a 28-year-old American guy who's been living in southwest Germany for a little over 2 years with my German wife. Though my German isn't the best yet, I know enough to get through daily life out here and understand just about everything when I'm paying enough attention. We live in an apartment with a small parking lot for guests, and each apartment has one garage big enough to fit one car in each. If a guest comes to visit, the size of the parking lot makes it very difficult, or near impossible, to get in and out of the garage. This is all important later. At the time, I was working at a small cafe, about a 10-minute drive from our apartment. My job was extremely strict with working hours, so I was in at 7 a.m., and out the door and in my car at 4:30 p.m., Mondays through Fridays. After about 3 months of working there, I noticed every day on my drive home that the same blue car with a black stripe down the middle was either in front of me or behind me every day, until I parked at my apartment to where he would continue down the road. No biggie. I just assumed it was someone with the same type of work schedule that lived in the same small town as me. But after a while, I noticed every time this guy was behind me, he would take any opportunity to overtake me, even though there were always about 20 to 30 cars directly in front of me, going the same speed. Every day. It was a two-way road with one lane going each way, all the way to where I lived. I thought nothing of it. I knew I was a slow driver, since I didn't fully understand the German rules of the road yet, and didn't want to take the chance of getting a ticket, or worse. So I was used to people passing me, even though I never went under the speed limit. Anyways, this went on for a while, with him still passing me almost every day, most of the time cutting me off, making me slam on the brakes. On one particular day, he was extremely impatient and aggressive, to where he tried to pass me in a one-lane roundabout, to where he almost sideswiped my car. He ended up bailing from the attempt, and fell back behind me. At this point, I'm pissed, but I hold back my anger and continue to drive normally. About 5 minutes later, I'm almost home driving up a pretty steep winding road with very light turns. As I'm near the first bend, I see a man on a bicycle on my side of the road, so I veer to the middle of the road to give him some room while I pass, and I could see there was no oncoming traffic. At this exact moment, the tries to pass me again, almost hitting me again. I couldn't move to my right, or I would have hit the man on the bike. This again bails from his obviously idiotic and dangerous attempt of passing me again, and continues behind me. I finally got to my apartment, and when I park, for some reason, I looked at my mirror, and who do I see parked behind me? You guessed it, He looks pissed. I don't know what this guy plans on doing, and I have no intention on finding out. So I get out of my car, and instantly got to the back of my car and grabbed the tire iron, but keep it hidden so he doesn't see it or think I'm trying to attack him. He gets out of his car to where I say to him in my broken German, "Can I help you?" He immediately scuffs and asks, "Where are you from, Scheiße Ausländer?" For those who don't know, Scheiße Ausländer is a very rude and disrespectful way of saying foreigner, something like effing foreigner. I ask him, "Does it matter where I'm from? I live here now." He scuffs again and started a whole speech about how people like you are the problem of this country and I shouldn't even be here, and how you should be thanking me since it's my tax money paying for you to be here. Side note, I came here legally, and between me and my wife's jobs, we live pretty comfortably with no government aid. I stop him in the middle of his rant and say, "You don't know anything about me, and what does any of this have to do with you driving like an..." At this point, it looks like he's seeing red, and continues to scream obscenities at me for another 30 seconds. He's suddenly interrupted by a loud, "Hey!" when a man wearing a helmet runs right up to him and slams him against his car so hard, it cracks his window with his back. I'm so confused for a bit, while this man is pinning him to his car, absolutely enraged, screaming at this, and then it clicked to me. This is the man on the bike. I didn't understand everything being said, but it was something along the lines of, "You almost killed me! WTF is your problem?" The shouting went on for about 2 minutes until the man on the bike forced the into his car and made him drive off. As much as I wished, this isn't the end of the story. About a month goes by, and on Sunday, my wife and I are coming home from shopping. As we turn into our apartment parking, the only way into our garage is blocked by a car. The car. Blue with a black stripe. My wife notices that I'm more pissed than I should be about this, because we had this situation before with other cars. Everyone that lives in this apartment is very nice, and we all have each other's phone numbers in case of an emergency, or for this kind of situation. It's normal to receive a text from a neighbor at least once a week, asking we have a guest parked in the way. We don't really have friends in this area, so it was never our guests parking there. So my wife starts sending out a text asking for whoever has the guest if they could kindly move the car. While she's doing this, I'm calling the landlord, who has told us multiple times if someone blocks our way to the garage to call her so she can call a tow truck. Obviously, nobody in our building does this because it's usually not a big deal and a simple text could solve it. I tell her what's going on and give her the details of the car. I hear her let out a sigh, him again, "Okay, I'll deal with it," and she hangs up. Apparently, this man has given another neighbor of ours problems before I tell my wife to not send out the text and that we should go get a coffee instead. There's a cafe directly in front of our apartment parking. My wife looks confused, but says okay. We're sitting in the outdoor part of the cafe with a clear view of the apartment parking, while I explain to her the whole story of this guy and what he did last month, because I never told her about it before. Eventually, I see a tow truck in the apartment parking and point it out to my wife, and she almost can't contain her laughter. I was able to hear much, but eventually the has noticed his car was being towed and ran outside his car, which was already on the truck. All I heard was a lot of screaming, but didn't understand anything. The truck driver eventually left with his car, and the was just standing there. He looked across the street and noticed my wife and I watching the whole thing. I smiled and waved, took a sip of my coffee. He walked back inside with utter defeat. I later found out that the is the father to one of the girls who lives in the same building as me. She knocked on my door the next day and asked about the situation, which I explained everything. Thankfully, she was very understanding and even apologized for her father's behavior. She also told me this isn't the first time her father's anger got him in trouble. My wife, being the nicest person in the world, made her cookies later that week to show no hard feelings towards her. She laughed and told us that her dad had to pay 400 euros to get the car back. She was actually pretty happy her father got what was coming to him. After that, we actually became pretty good friends with her and her boyfriend. Now every time the comes to visit his daughter, he parks his car across the street and won't say a word to me. And as far as I know, he drives a different way to home from work now. If you want more where that came from, simply click on one of these boxes right here. And if you liked the video, I assume you did since you're still here, share it with your friends to see what they think. And of course, if you haven't already, click the kitty to subscribe and you'll never miss another video. I'll see you in the next episode of Reddit Chronicles.